Kakefukun no Jump Tengoku Speed Jigoku is a masterclass in how not to make a platforming game. The title means Kakefukun's Jump Heaven, Speed Hell. And that's pretty close to describing the game, except I'd also say it's Jump Hell. What's worse, this isn't a poorly made game. It's not like this is a Micronix-designed platformer that's barely holding together. This is a very good implementation of some very, very bad design ideas. Kakefukun was a child star who was mainly famous for being famous. He'd regularly appear on Japanese variety shows, do commercials, and make the odd guest appearance on a TV series. Not that long after this game came out, he'd quit show business and eventually become the manager of a convenience store. The plot of the game is that the king is sick, and Kakefu has to recover some magic herbs for him before he dies. And there is our first major problem with the game. That time limit is real time. You have 3 hours to complete the game, including continues. How quickly you complete the game also determines which ending you get. The quicker you beat the game, the larger the reward you receive in the ending. Now you might think that 3 hours is plenty of time to beat an 8-bit platforming game, but what you don't realize is that Kakefukun is one of the most hateful games ever designed. In the hour I was capturing video, I reached the 3rd stage, and that's out of 21 stages. The challenge in the game is half movement, half absolutely hateful level design. Kakefukun has tons of inertia. It takes him about 5 seconds to get up to full speed, and it feels like there's 4 tiers of speed that he moves through. So slow that you can't do anything, barely slow enough to do some things, an okay walking speed, and so fast that you clear an entire screen in a quarter second. That kind of huge variation and slow startup makes platforming just about impossible. On top of that, it feels like there's several frames of delay before it responds to the jump button being pressed. And even the early levels require frame-perfect jumps. And that's because the level design here is disastrously awful. I hope you like high-speed blind jumps across many screens where enemies are waiting on the tiny platforms that you have to land on, because you're going to get a lot of those. But maybe you could jump a bit earlier for that and have a little bit more control. That might work if there's not an invisible block there that knocks you into the hole. And again, I want to emphasize, these are the first 3 stages. The later stages are even worse. To deal with enemies, you can jump on them to smash them into the ground, and then jump on them again to defeat them. Of course, sometimes that just doesn't work at all. Running into an enemy is instantly fatal too. No health bar here. If you move through certain objects at high speed, this fuzzball called Wiki may appear. You can pick Wiki up and carry him around with you, and if you run into an enemy, Wiki will go away. You can also throw Wiki at enemies. He'll go through things, then sit on the ground for a bit before he returns to you. Another annoying thing in Kakefukun is that the screen doesn't freely scroll. There are multiple layers to the stage, and going up off the top of the screen or down off the bottom of the screen will move you to those, assuming that there isn't water that will kill you in the way. When you do this, the game freezes for a moment and it moves to the next layer, and unfortunately, due to the nature of the jumping in Kakefukun, you'll pop up off the top of the screen, wait, drop down off the bottom again, wait. It gives the whole thing a jerky motion. Another annoying thing are these poles that you grab onto. If you jump onto them just right, and if you jump off them just right, then you might possibly complete the jump to the far side. But the poles will launch you automatically. You're locked into position when you touch them, and sometimes you just lose speed by colliding with them. It's very difficult to control where you're going to go when you're jumping off those poles. While recording the footage for this video, I spent a literal hour trying and failing the same jumps over and over and over again. You can continue and the king will revive you, but of course that still costs you time. Kakefukun no Jump Tengoku Speed Jigoku is just an infuriating game to play. The movement is sloppy while requiring precision, every jump requires foreknowledge, and they put an absolute time limit on the player. This is a game that you would only play as a challenge to yourself, to see if it was even possible to finish it. You definitely wouldn't play this one for fun. There is a better-ish way to play the game. An improved version was released on the Sega Master System in the US as Psycho Fox, and there was eventually a game built on these as a sequel, Decap Attack. So as bad as Kakefukun no Jump Tengoku Speed Jigoku is, at least something decent came out of it.